Welcome back to Footballology. So up next we have the Tennessee Titans. Now it's time to build out their 2022 roster and what they can possibly do. Now this team is really exciting because I feel like they've always been on the cusp of a Super Bowl, if not winning one. They feel like they have the defense that's very competitive and tough, but also that running game with Derrick Henry and that offensive line. But things have not been trending in the right direction for them in the last couple of years. The last time we seen them in 2021, Ron Tannehill was throwing a pick against Cincinnati, and that was pretty much the end of their season. And they had such a strong season. I'm going to say off to a good start, but they had such a strong season that you felt like this was the team that you definitely didn't want to see in the playoffs. But Ryan Tannehill playing the way he did really hindered them from really going to that next level. So scrolling down, once you start digging into some of their games and really looking at some of their stuff, I look at some of their stats. Once again, Tannehill, and this is what I was saying about my Colts, about with the Colts and Carson Wentz. Tannehill didn't do a lot. Carson Wentz probably had a better season than Tannehill, but yet the Colts felt like that he was expendable, and which I never understood. But if we look at Tannehill's season, 21 passing touchdowns to 14 interceptions. I did not know he threw that many interceptions. That's crazy. And, he had a QBR of 55.5. Like, this man is not good. Like, I knew he wasn't good, but jeez. Like, he struggled. That's horrible. Okay, that kind of threw me off guard a little bit. So you see, Tannehill just wasn't that quality of a passer. I mean, he still had a 67.2 completion as far as passings, but it's just like he didn't do a lot. Right? He really didn't feel like he changed the game for them. If anything, it was this rushing attack. And even with Derrick Henry being out for all the games he was out with pretty much half of the season, still ran for 937 and still gave them hope when he came back in the playoffs. So looking at all these things coupled together, Tannehill gave you 270 on the ground and 7 touchdowns, but a lot of those were short yardage touchdowns. So, I mean, do we say Tannehill gave us 28 total touchdowns? But that's still on 14 interceptions. As Carson Wentz still had an overall better season than he did, which is mind-blowing. That's what I'm saying. Like, I never understood why the Colts did what they did, but that's nowhere here or there. We're talking about the Titans. So looking at the rushing attack, the biggest thing was Derrick Henry being hurt, but Foreman came in and gave them some really good touches down the stretch while Henry was out. But that's something that I think that they're going to try to lean forward on, or lean more on towards going, is like probably not using Henry as much in the early parts of the season, but on the back half of the season, that's really probably where we're going to see Henry start to ramp it up, especially going into the playoffs, like, probably from like week 13, week 12 on out, and really start to give him his normal touches. Because I mean, granted, he's only 27, but you can't keep running him the way you are and expect him to be good and fresh when it comes to the playoff time. Are you going to be on a snap count, probably early parts of the season, and then on the back half of the season, that's really when we can ramp up his touches. But overall, like from a rushing standpoint, we knew what this team was. I mean, what they have. 2,400 total yards rushing as a team, which is mind-blowingly awesome, and then 23 rushing touchdowns as a team, which is nice too. So running was never an issue. And then we come over looking at the receiving though. Now receiving, I felt like was never a true issue either. But I mean, we said this with the same thing with the Colts and a lot of other teams. Our number one receiver had 800 yards. Then there was that big 400 to 500 yard drop off with, next guy was Westbrook. And Westbrook, if I remember correctly, was a rookie or a young guy. So it's like, why is Westbrook right there? A lot of people expected Julio to be up there a little bit higher, probably closer towards where AJ Brown is, if not having AJ Brown being a 1,000-yard receiver. But with a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill, who's not pushing the ball down the field consistently, and just overall probably the scheme, you're not going to get a lot of those, big plays or big touches. So AJ Brown may be happy not being in Tennessee anymore, but kind of looking into the future will slow it down a little bit. And so, but you can see their passing attack was never really something that they wrote home about and something that they could really hang their hat on, which granted with a running back like Derrick Henry, you're not trying to. So I completely understand that. I don't know. They got some passing threats. Like Des Fitzpatrick, I'm kind of excited about him. They got some passing threats there, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward. So scrolling down, we're going to look at their defense, though. Now, this is the heart and soul, in my opinion, of this team. This defense has only gotten better over time, and they've consistently gotten better, especially since Vrabel's been there. So first of all, I like to look at interceptions. We look at their total team interceptions with 16. Granted, you want to see that a lot better. I think Jaguars had 17, or the Colts had 17 or 19, somewhere around there. So it's like you want them to be more competitive as far as getting the ball back to their offense. Now, granted, not everybody's going to do that, and it's not going to be consistent. Everybody's going to have great numbers, but that's something that I always kind of harp on. Interceptions, because forced fumbles are here and there, and you always got to recover them. But interceptions is something I feel like you can really control with scheme and players and just kind of moving pieces around. Come over to their sacks. Now they had a double-digit sack guy and Landry. Now this is interesting because if I remember correctly, Landry was on his contract year. And with that being said, if Landry's on his contract year, what is he going to look like this year? It's always frightening to have a guy on his contract season do really good, because now you're like saying, are you playing for that money? Or are you playing because you're just getting better? And if a guy 2 seasons out plays really good, 2 seasons out from his contract expiring, starts to ball out, then I can have more respect for him. But a guy that balls out on his contract year just kind of always feels wrong to me, always sits wrong in my heart. I'm not saying I wouldn't pay him, but I'm just saying it just doesn't sit right with me. But, Landry with 12 sacks, Simmons with 8.5 sacks. Simmons tore it up in that playoff game. And that's something that, we're not talking about, obviously. Through the regular season, he had 8.5, but that playoff game, he dominated. They dominated Cincinnati up front. Bud Dupree, I think they were expecting a lot from him. Granted, you see that he only played 11 games, started 6. And so it's like, maybe he just took a time to get going. You really get acclimated to the system. So that's something that, granted, we could probably see more of coming into the season. So I feel like they got some pieces, especially in that front, to really build around. I know they lost some good linebackers. I want to say they lost Evans to Atlanta, maybe. I could be wrong. But I know they lost some pieces, so that's something that they're going to really hang their hat on or worry about, I guess, going into the 2022 season, what the middle or the heart and soul of this defense is going to look like. Sorry, I'm just all over the place right now. So that's really about their defense. I mean, we had total of 43 sacks as a team. Once again, I love that. I'll take that all day, every day. Is that really 43 sacks? I guess so. 10, 20. Yeah, I guess I can see it. About 43. Huh. And the sheet don't lie. So, but that was really it. I mean, like I said, I feel like they had a competitive defense. It was a defense that could really get after the quarterback. Maybe a little bit more help on the back end. Kevin Byard, obviously being the guy he is, would he lead them in interception? So we don't know what Kevin Byard was. Maybe getting some of these young corners back, because I don't think they had some of their younger corners either. So it would be interesting. But moving on to their free agency. Now we move over to their free agency. Now they needed, I think, to have a really strong free agency or get some of those veteran guys that are looking to try to win. They're kind of not on the back end of their year or their career, but kind of at that point in their career where they're like, you know what, money's money. I want to win. And so getting a guy like Austin Hooper, who was already got paid by Cleveland, if I remember correctly, now he's in a situation where he just wants to be a good, usable piece for a team. And Austin Hooper going to Tennessee, which is something that I feel like they missed with Delaney Walker not being there. So maybe bringing him in and really start to give him that threat again at the tight end position. Scrolling down, a lot of these guys don't stick out to me. Maybe Hiller at the running back position. I think he gave them some quality snaps. But I mean, looking at a lot of these, no. Outside of Austin Hooper, I'm not really seeing anything. Granted, now they lost AJ Brown. Addition by subtraction. Maybe I don't think that's a thing at all. So let's look at something real quick. I want to see. Give me a second. Let's look and see who really left Tennessee. So these are all the guys came into Tennessee, which we knew. And then now we start looking at some of the guys like Marcus Johnson as a receiver. Not really worried about him. Brown, inside backer. That's a problem, because I think Brown gave them some quality snaps. Quisenberry, yeah, Rashad Evans. Yeah, that was the one I was talking about. Fisker is gone. So, I mean, they didn't lose a lot, but then we come down here. George Jenkins, maybe Jack Rabbit. Losing him could be a problem. Julio Jones could be a problem. Granted, Julio didn't do a lot for them. But, I mean, guess they really didn't lose much either. If we're being honest with us, or being honest with ourselves, like, they didn't lose much. But I don't feel like they added much either. And maybe because of, cap issues, money issues. I know they paid Bud a lot of money. And I think they re-signed Harold Landry. And then I think Jeffrey Simmons might be coming up for money too. So it's like, it's some pieces that you really want to retain and keep around. So I completely understand that. But maybe probably get more quality veteran free agent pickups. What I like to see right there. Free agency this year was weird anyways. Like, if we're being honest, it was just weird. But coming over to their draft class, now this is where things really, really start to get interesting. Now, I like Roger McCreary because I feel like they needed that corner. So that was a really solid pickup for them. And then you got Treylon Burks. They don't have the rounds on here. That frustrates me. They had Treylon Burks in the first round, but we know about that. That was pretty much a trade-off for AJ Brown. Malik Willis, I think, is the one that people are really interested in. Getting Hassan here. I think that's going to be interesting because, like I said, we're probably going to see less Derrick Henry in the first half of the first part of the season, but on the back half of the season, we're probably going to see more Derrick Henry. So that's going to be really good for them. And it's just like they have pieces in place currently right now that they could possibly get to the playoffs and make a deep run. Ryan Tannehill is their Achilles heel, so I think that's why the Malik Willis. And granted, I was the biggest. I would say I'm not gonna say I was the one that was against Malik Willis always, but I was never for Malik Willis in the first round. I didn't ever feel like he was a first round quarterback. But for them to get him, I think what they got him in the third, maybe fourth round. I can't. It doesn't on here. It's my apologies. And for them to get them or to get him when they got him, I think that was definitely a better value, because if he's going to be a guy that's upside and has all this upside, or a guy that could possibly be something, I'd rather take a late round pick, project pick on him, if you will, than use one of my early picks for him when I'm a team that needs to kind of get some ballers in there right now. And I don't think any quarterback really stood out this year, for being honest with ourselves. I like Desmond Ridder the most, but different story for a different day. So, but that was that. I think like their draft class was exactly what they needed. Not over the board, not crazy, just solid, bringing in pieces that are really going to probably try to be potentially good guys today. If not, somebody's going to develop into some solid pieces down the road and really help them out down the road. So that was pretty much their free agency and their draft. Now it's time to build out their roster. Now this is where it gets interesting. As you see, we're on the South, we're on the Titans. So we're going to start the quarterback position. I think right now we're automatically going to go with Ryan Tannehill. Maybe things change in camp. Who knows? Anything possible that can change in camp. Malik Willis might can come out and actually start to kind of put things together and really start to show that he could possibly start. Who knows? I like to see Derek Henry, but I mean, you see some of these other like Hiller and Haskins. I don't know why I can't say his name. Well, Haskins, like, you might see a lot of him in the early part of the season, especially if he can really show that he can hold the rock and not fumble and have those issues. So we're going to go with Derek Henry because that's a no-brainer. And you're going to get out to our left tackle position. I think this is a no-brainer. Mr. Lewan, with the best left tackle in the league. No, I'm joking. He is he's a top left tackle though. Don't get me wrong. Don't come for me. I definitely like Lewan though. Lewan's that guy. And then looking at some of these guards, is it Nate Davis? Maybe Nate Davis. Is that right? I feel like that's right. And I have no way of checking. My apologies. That's on me. That's definitely on me. Okay. I want to say it was Nate Davis though. And then Ben Jones at center. I did see him. And then I want to see, okay, so I want to do this right tackle position first. And then I'm gonna come back and do Jalen McKenzie. Is that a thing? As you see, they took Nicholas, maybe. I don't know. Oh. Reddins. That's how you say his name. I think he's a strong right tackle. I think that was something that they definitely needed and wanted there. And then coming over to the right guard, maybe Brewer. That name sounds familiar. I usually know my offensive lineman, but I don't know anything. Jamarco Jones? Do I know anything about Jamarco Jones? That name sounds familiar. They didn't draft him. Okay, sorry. I'm all over the place right now, but maybe. See, I've been botching my offensive line. I swear this will be the last time you see me botch the offensive line, because that's unacceptable on my behalf. Anyways, that's unacceptable. Give me a second. We're gonna figure this out. Give me a second. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back, and I had to do some quick research. So I forgot they had Quisenberry. Well, I didn't forget. They had Quisenberry. They lost Quisenberry in that, but I forgot they had Roger Sadfo. So they lost him as well. So now that's why this guard position is kind of throwing me off. Brewer looked like he was their swing guy a lot last year. And so now I'm kind of confused as far as how they were going to move forward with this right guard position. So what we probably end up having right here is a camp position. But it looks like Brewer will probably be the guy. But Brewer looked like he was that swing guard center guy. So maybe Brewer, maybe not. But I think this might be a possible projected offensive line. If you're a Titans fan, let me know what you think in the comment section below. But I feel pretty comfortable with everything. I kind of quickly looked over real quick. I felt pretty comfortable about Brewer. But like I said, Brewer was one of those guys that looked like he was their interior swing guy. And if he's that valuable, you probably don't want to start him. So it might end up being a camp position and see who the best guard is for that spot. But I think that for the most part, this might be our starting front five. And then moving over to the tight end position, I think it's automatically a no-brainer. It goes to Hooper. And then kind of let the backups play it out for themselves. But I think Austin Hooper is a no-brainer at that spot, which is definitely something. Like I said, they were missing that dominant tight end after having Delaney Walker and Jonnu Smith. After losing those guys, they didn't ever have that tight end that could be that true mismatch and can be a receiving threat. And maybe they felt like that's what Ryan Tannehill took a step back, because he never had that tight end he could rely on. And so putting Hooper there at the tight end spot. Now this is where it gets interesting, because I think automatically we're thinking. So we're automatically thinking Treylon, but I don't know. Things were weird there for a second. Was he not looking good? Was he looking good? Who knows? Westbrook gave us a lot of quality play towards the back end of the season, so that might be a possibility. We do have Robert Woods. Hear me out. So what if we did Westbrook? I like Woods at the slot, because I think Woods has that slot mentality. He's a really good, strong third down receiver, so I really like him there. And then maybe a Fitzpatrick and Burks kind of battles it out here. And I don't know what Treylon is right now, but they also got some other weapons. Like I got Josh Malone. I like Josh Malone a lot too. Des Fitzpatrick, like I said, like him a lot. So maybe, like I said, Fitzpatrick or Burks might be battling this out, but I'm gonna go with Fitzpatrick because he's been there, he's done that. Maybe he's a little bit more acclimated to the system, and we slowly bring in Treylon. We slowly start to acclimate him to the offense over time and not right away. So then we move to the defense side of the ball. Now I want to say they're gonna run a 4-3, but I feel like they run a hybrid 4-3 with Landry and Bud Dupree out there. So if we were to run a hybrid, right? I think automatically Jefferson Simmons doesn't play D tackle, he plays defensive end. And so we put him at the end spot. And then our nose at that point, who would we be looking at nose? Deshaun Hand. That name sounds familiar. See, all these names just like they ring a bell, but they don't stick for some reason. And DeMarcus Walker? No. Autry? Maybe, but it says defensive end. So do we put him here? And then who do we put at the nose though? Are we looking at Garrett at the nose? Or Jones? All right, once again, we gotta get back over here and start doing some more research. So Jones gave us 5 games started, 13 played. We knew about Landry. Our nose was Rush for a couple of games. Yeah, I seen that. That was easy. Deshaun Hand, okay, he didn't play anything. Simmons, we knew about him. So looking at this, it was just kind of like a free for all, right? See, okay, now they have Bud at, so that's weird, because they have Bud at defense end right here. So I'm assuming Bud Dupree played a lot of DN. And I feel like they played a 4-3. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong page. So, because if that was the case, right? So, but they don't have Bud here. See, that's what I'm saying. And I feel like they're going to move more towards the 3-4 this year by putting Landry. We put Bud over here. That would be nasty. Bud and Jeffrey Simmons on the same side. Ridiculous. And then we put Landry on this side, which I don't think they run. I think they flopped. I believe they're flopped. And we do that, and then we're going to lock out this position. And then this is our 3-down lineman. So obviously Autry. But then, like, who's our nose at that point? Are we looking at Jones as our nose? Like, I don't know any of these guys outside of Jeffrey Simmons on this line. We've seen Tart give us some play. Who's our nose at that point? Yeah, see Tart. Tart gave us some play. Real quick. And all right, now we got to go back and just hang with me. Just follow me. I'm trying to get this down as much and as accurate as I possibly can. But this is where I would love for you guys to comment in the comment section below. Like I said, like if you got to roast me for all I care, I don't care. Just comment. Let me know. All right, so Tart doesn't seem like he's big enough to play nose for me personally. I feel like he's kind of undersized. I like Jones with his size. Maybe at 6'3", 313. I definitely want Simmons on the end spot, really kind of getting up against those guards, going up against those guards and really giving those guards havoc or creating havoc against those guards. So that's what I see personally. Yeah, so he went to Alabama. I knew that. Deshaun Hand, that name sounds familiar. Okay, so for this sake of argument right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do Tart. We're gonna do Tart there with Autry, Simmons, and this is gonna be our front three. Bud, Landry on the outside. Then we get to the middle of this defense. Now this is gonna be interesting because I feel like they lost a lot of speed here. David Long. I don't know why I said lost speed. They lost Evans, but Long is still there, so I think that's a no-brainer. Now Zach Cunningham is what I'm leaning towards because I feel like he has the most experience out of all these guys that are currently on the roster right now, and no one else is really sticking out to me. Maybe Dylan Cole. Maybe Dylan Cole is your third guy, and you kind of bring him in, or vice versa. But I think Long is definitely a starter. I'm gonna go with Cunningham because I feel the most comfortable with Cunningham, and I think this is gonna be our front seven. I think obviously it's a strong front seven, especially if Landry can continue doing what he was doing, keep running like he was running. I think that this front seven will be really strong. And then we're moving out to the corners. Now, the way I look at it, they have a really strong secondary. So, no brainer, Kevin Byard, just killing it at the free safety position right now. And then we got Caleb Fairley. We got Fulton. Who else? Michael Griffin II. That can't be right. That can't be right. There's no Michael Griffin on their roster. Did I just copy the wrong thing? Michael Griffin. What? 32. What? Did I miss something? Yo, did I miss something? That made no sense to me. Okay, whatever. I do like Amani Hooker. I like Amani Hooker a lot, actually. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pencil him in. This is the first time that I've been so excited to set safeties because so far doing these videos, I've looked like a complete bum fool trying to set safeties. But these safeties I think are a no-brainer, especially with Hooker and Byard. I think that's a no-brainer. I'm leaning towards Fairley at the 1. We do got Elijah Molden. But I think Molden is more of a nickel. Buster Screens is not going to see the field in any kind of way, in any kind of capacity at all. We did take McCurry to. This is why you don't make these videos so far out. You gotta try to make them as soon as possible. So he's 5'11", 190. Fulton is 5'11", 197. But I feel like Fulton gave you quality play though, so that can definitely be a thing. Like I said, Elijah Molden, I definitely like him at the nickel spot. I think he could be one of those strong nickels. Buster Screens, he's probably gonna come in on situations, things like that. We already talked about Hooker. So okay, this is what I'm looking at. Follow me. Here we go. So we're gonna do Farley. I can't even speak. We're gonna do him at the 1. We're gonna come over here and we're gonna do. I just said his name like 3 or 4 times. Molden. So we're gonna do Molden at the nickel, and then at our 2. I'm leaning towards Fulton, and I think that'd probably be best. Let me know who you want to see at the 2, maybe who you want to see at the 1, because you might not like any. Theo Jackson, this guy, if I remember correctly, this is the dude. He played in Seattle. I think he had arms for days. Dude had crazy length. Is he actually on the roster though? I guess he's not on the roster. Okay. I don't know. Maybe. If it's the guy I'm thinking of, I think he played in Seattle, and he had long arms. But I might be wrong. I might be right. Once again, hook me up in the comment section below. This is it's fun to do, and I call myself a footballologist, and I'm telling you guys, I know enough. But right now, I'm getting stumped out, and it's embarrassing. But I'm not gonna hide from you guys. So what we're gonna do is we're probably gonna do McCreamy. I want to call him McCreamy so bad. Do him there. Do him at the 2, and then maybe Fulton possible. But I think because we took him where we took him, maybe he can give us a run at the 2. But I feel like that's really high. I don't know if he balls out. Maybe. Once again, this could be a camp position. Hopefully, Caleb Fairley can actually come in and be that number 1 corner for us. Because if he's the number 1 corner, I think we have a good chance. Anyways, with all that being said, I'm sorry this took longer than I expected. That's pretty much going to be the roster I fill out at this point. I feel like this roster is strong, or this lineup is strong. There's a lot of camp positions. So my camp positions in my mind, and let me know what you agree or disagree with this. Camp position is wide receiver 2, because I think wide receiver 1 is either going to be Fitzpatrick or Westbrook, and I think at that point there's going to be camp positions. Right guard is definitely going to be a camp position. Quarterback, possibly. That's a long shot, but possibly. Inside linebacker is a camp position. And then CB2 for sure, because I think that they want Farley to come in and do his thing and kind of be that corner that they expect him to be. And he might be, he might come in and do his thing. But there's like I said, wide receiver 2, CB2, right guard, inside linebacker maybe. Because I feel like that's gonna be easy up for grabs. So it'll be the best man available. Like Dylan Cole could easily overtake Zach Cunningham. I don't think David Long loses his position because I think he has too much speed and quickness. But that's just me personally. But I like this. I think this is a good start in 22. I think these are the guys that you could possibly roll out there in 2022 and probably get the best opportunity, give you the best opportunity to win. So with all that being said, I got to go with a D for the Tennessee Titans overall in their 2022 offseason. Now, this is not a bad thing because I think they're still a playoff caliber team with a lot of the pieces they got in place. But I think we got to explain like the Treylon Burks, A.J. Brown exchange. Granted, the money and everything. But A.J. Brown was definitely coming into his own and starting to be that receiver that you really were looking for. Granted, you brought in Malik Willis to compete against Ryan Tannehill. But you really never kind of made it a thing. Like I would have, maybe if you would have made Malik Willis, like I didn't want him in the first round, maybe in the second round. If you take Malik in the second round, maybe it puts a little bit more pressure. Say, hey, Ryan Tannehill might actually have to look over his shoulder to kind of, keep his job. Maybe. And then on top of that, like really when you start to think about everything and all, like losing some of the pieces they lost, not really adding any pieces in, and just kind of going with the motions. Like I said, they have a deep roster. They have some players that I don't know about that could possibly come out and ball out for them. And they just felt really comfortable with what they currently had in house with like a Fitzpatrick or a Westbrook, or with a Zach Cunningham possibly coming back. Dylan Cole, I think they re-signed him, so him coming back and what he could possibly do. Harold Landry. So they got pieces in place that they probably felt really comfortable with. But as far as the addition and what they did throughout the offseason between free agency and the NFL draft, they didn't do a lot to really make this team that much better. At least try to keep up with the Joneses, especially in the AFC. As you can see, a lot of the AFC teams are starting to load up and really trying to push for that championship. So you seen what happened against, and this is not me being biased or anything, but you seen what happened in the divisional round in the playoffs. If you had to see Mahomes or Josh Allen, are you ready for that? Or, got to put respect on Joe Burrow and what the Bengals did. If you got to see them, are you ready for that? Derek Carr and the Raiders and how better they got. Denver Broncos and the Russell Wilson, like they got better. And I don't feel like Tennessee had gotten that much better. And then you still can't count out New England, Baltimore, Cleveland. Like there's a lot of teams that even in your own division, you look at Jacksonville and you look at the Colts, those teams are gotten better. And what they're going to do, I'm not worried about the Texans. The Texans are trying, but they're not there. But you got to look at the Jaguars. You got to respect the Colts and what they're doing. And I don't feel like Tennessee did a lot to really kind of help, not even separate themselves within their division, but at least make them more competitive within the division. You just went 12-5. Don't mess around and go, was it 9-7? No, 9-8 or 8-9. Don't mess around and do that. Go from 12-5 to 8-9. Like you don't want to do that. But that's what I can kind of see happening because it's just like I said, they didn't do a lot. But they are still a playoff caliber team with the roster they have in place. But if you get into the playoffs, you got to see a lot of good players. And are you ready for those players? And really, are you just going to get knocked out in the first round and then be looking right back like you are right now? But that's all I have for you guys right now. If you're a Titans fan, let me know what you think in the comment section below about the roster build that I did. Do you like that roster? Do you want me to move some pieces around? What pieces do you see moving? Or what guys that you think they're going to possibly win some of those camp positions that I mentioned? And if you think they can actually take over and actually dominate this season like a Westbrook or a Fitzpatrick, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm excited to hear from you guys. And if you're not a footballologist yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. Go on and hit that subscribe button today. Become a footballologist and stay football fans.